You are now watching Bleav. Do you believe?
Welcome, everybody, back to the Bleav in the Jets podcast. I am your host, Andrew Golden of Jets X Factor. I got my co-host, former Jet running back LaMont Jordan here with me. The wait is finally over, everybody. Training camp has begun. We are just a short while from real football getting started. The first official preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, is 1 week from today as we are recording this. LaMont, we made it. It's been a long summer. It's been a lot of anticipation and a lot of hype, but I am glad to say we made it.
Yeah, we did, man. We did. It's here.
It's here.
For me, August. Once we really hit the month of August, that's when it's really going to hit me. But it's in the air, man. It's football season. Now the football conversations that we'll be having, and pretty much everybody will be having all around the world, pretty much. It's conversations about, hey, your chances of your team making a Super Bowl, how many wins. Some teams are already preparing for the first and second picks already. So
yeah,
I'm really excited about this time.
Yeah. A lot of excitement in the air, a lot of optimism in the air. Always the most fun time for Jets fans usually is before reality sets in and we get back to what we're used to. But I think things should be a little different this year. I think we got some good guys at the top in place running things. The coaching staff, we've added a lot of talented players and a lot of additions. And one of those guys in particular is someone that we had that we're getting back, and that's Mekhi Becton. He was able to come back healthy, was activated off the PUP list, is fully active for camp. And we can now officially say the left tackle competition is a competition no more. Robert Saleh has put it in stone. George Fant will be the left tackle. Mekhi Becton will be the right tackle. They are going to go ahead with that as their plan. Personally, I don't think it really is that much of a difference. And I think it's good for them to sort this out early. That way the offensive line knows their place. They know where everyone's supposed to be. They can get continuity down and get used to practicing and spend all of camp really getting used to their new spots. I'd love to hear how you feel about this as a former player yourself, but I'd imagine if you are going to be doing something different, you'd like to have as much time as possible to get it down.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, just from a running back position, I want to come into camp knowing who my offensive linemen are. And
exactly.
Not just from a running back, but even from a quarterback position. And you talked about it, the continuity between the offensive linemen. Now these guys know who their starting five is going to be. And it gives you an opportunity to get into a groove, their communication. Even as a back, you're learning how these guys take on blocks. You get an opportunity to know where the weaknesses of these guys are. So I'm loving what's happening right now. Everybody gets to come into camp knowing where you stand. It's not a situation where, we're having a quarterback competition. We're having a running back or a wide receiver competition. It's everybody, where you stand. And I love the depth of this team, both offensively and defensively. So it's going to create some great competition in camp.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest thing is that this is not a situation where, in Jets off seasons and training camps of years past, where the team was so devoid of talent, where you're not getting too much of practicing against the guys on the other side, where either your one side is so much more talented than the other that it just overtakes them, or you're not getting any quality rep because you're not going against good players. And the Jets finally have enough good players on all aspects of the game that they have that competition. And they can afford to put guys in and really compete and have some good battles and work things out. And I want to focus on one aspect, not quite on the competition aspect, but more just on a general perception aspect, where I feel like there's a lot of people that are going to take this as Mekhi Becton lost his job. And I don't think that that's quite what happened, because I think we saw George Fant step in, played really well at left tackle. I think this is a lot more about Fant than it is about Becton, where he feels a lot more comfortable on the left side. There was a lot of good play from him last season at left tackle. And I think if the Jets, if you want to get, like you said, your best five out there and have your starting five set, if Mekhi Becton's at left tackle and he plays well and George Fant's at right tackle and really suffers, that might be worse overall than Mekhi Becton being average at right tackle and Fant being a great left tackle. And I think for the team success, especially Zach Wilson in year two, having quality on both sides of the line at both tackle spots is really important, because pass rushers come from every angle. There's not like, only as the opposing defense is going to put their best pass rusher on the right side of their defense going up against the left tackle every play, and that's it. And whatever guy is going against the right tackle, we don't got to worry about. That's not how defenses work anymore. That's old school, where you got defensive ends, they want to find their best matchup. And like Von Miller, for instance, now in Buffalo, we're going to be playing twice a year. Von Miller doesn't care what side he's lining up on. Von Miller doesn't care if he's on the left or the right. Von Miller wants to go against his best matchup and go and get to the quarterback. So I think both tackle spots are important. I think they're equally important. And I think having a quality person at both tackle spots is crucial to success for an offensive line, especially in today's league where there's just so many dangerous pass rushers.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, especially with the point of Fant being a really good tackle and Mekhi being a good right tackle, opposed to Becton being a great tackle, left tackle, and Fant being just a horrible right tackle. I think for Becton, I think it shows his versatility. I think it shows that, you know, and just as a coach and as a ball carrier, you love to have linemen that are versatile because you always have injuries. And if you take my best left tackle and you move in, let's say you have to take my best left or right tackle and you have to move him to guard because we have an injury. The fact that that's my best lineman, I don't care where he is, as long as he's on the field, I'm going to feel comfortable and I'm going to make things right. And I think that this is the situation that we have here with the Jets is that, hey, you have your best 5 offensive linemen coming into this season. All right. You have a quarterback coming into his second year, which looks like he put all the work in the world that you put it this way. I talked a lot about it on this show, how this is going to be a big year for him. It appears if he's put the work in and the focus in during the offseason. Okay. He has nothing but weapons around him. And I think by adding Breece Hall to the backfield, that's going to make things even better. I just like where the Jets are coming into training camp. It's the best situation that they've been in a while. And we talked about it a lot on this show throughout the course of the season. If it's regardless, win or lose, if it's one thing that this team has shown, and I think you have to give credit to the head coach, is regardless of what the score is, regardless of whether you're playing for playoffs or not, this team has shown that they're going to come out and they're going to play the game of football. And I'm excited to see the growth of these young players and how well the potential of how well they can be this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just highlighted it, and I want to expand more on that. All the credit in the world to Robert Saleh, because the culture that he has built for this team and the attitude of all of these players and how they're handling this next year, there hasn't been a single player that I've heard from that isn't dialed in. There hasn't been a single player that I've heard from that doesn't know that what their job is, know what they have to do to contribute, go out there, compete, work as hard as they can, and do, as I've heard multiple players say this phrase over and over, and I know it's coming from Saleh, do their 1/11th. That there's 11 guys on the field on either side of the ball at each time, and as long as they're all doing their 1/11th of their part of their job, that they'll be okay. They don't got to focus on what other people are doing. They don't got to focus on, what the defense might be doing if they're on offense. Focus on your job, get your 1/11th done. I've heard that so many times from various players over these last couple of weeks, and it really stuck out to me because that's what it is. Do your job. It's the antiquated Bill Belichick phrase. Do your job. We're going to ask you to play your role. You do your role, and everyone contributes. We'll be a team. And I really think that bleeds into this tackle situation where Mekhi Becton, I'll go on the right side. I just want to play. I'm going to do whatever I can to be the best right tackle I can be. I missed most of the time last year, and now I'm coming back, and I just want to get on the field. Where Fant, he's ready to stick and be at left tackle. We had Elijah Vera Tucker move over to the right side as well, and now he's going to be the right guard as they signed Laken Tomlinson, who had experience at left guard and was really good at that spot. This is just all about putting the best team together to go out and win. And I don't get a sense of any egos. I don't get a sense of anyone feeling slighted. The offensive line, Mekhi Becton said it himself. All of the guys are close. They're a really tight-knit unit. They're all friends. They're in good spirits together, and they enjoy playing together. And I think that's really, really important. So credit to Robert Saleh, because the culture of a team, this doesn't feel like a team that won 4 games last year. No. This feels like a team that's hungry. This feels like a team that knows they're talented and they're ready to compete and they're ready to change this narrative. And that all starts at the top.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think it starts at the top. And then once again, you look at the work that Zach Wilson has put in, and you talked about it with the culture. This is a culture where if you're a young player, you have young players on this team, rookies from last year, that had a significant amount of playing time. And so you coming in as a young player, if there's one thing that you have to have set in your mind, is it doesn't matter if you're a rookie or you're a vet, you're going to have an opportunity to compete for serious playing time and help put this team in position to win. And it goes back to the competition. The way this roster has been built, it creates competition all the way across the board. And it creates the competition in training camp, but what it does is it gives you so much depth throughout the course of the season in a game where you know injuries are going to happen. And so I'm really excited for this team this year. I'm praying that everybody gets through training camp, gets through preseason healthy, and that we can start the season. We can start the season healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, me knocking on wood there to definitely hear that. Pray everyone stays healthy and pray everyone stays in good spirits. As of right now, the team is healthy. And I think that's a really important part of this as well, where all of their major contributors that were placed on the PUP list before camp officially opened have been activated. Carl Lawson's fully healthy and back. He had an interview with the press yesterday. He looks like a superhuman. I can't believe how ripped and jacked Carl Lawson is. And you hear every other member of the defensive line talk about getting him back and how in shape he is and how much of a factor he's going to be. CJ Uzama was their big free agent tight end signing, was placed on the PUP. He's back, fully healthy, activated, going to be a huge help for Zach Wilson as a security blanket, a guy that, speaking of culture and speaking of leadership, is a guy that has been all over the place as a leader, seems to be just everyone's favorite teammate. I don't know if you saw, he showed up to camp yesterday when he first walked in. He had a shirt on. It was a white t-shirt with a print of a fake Time Magazine Person of the Year cover on it with Zach Wilson as the cover. And, just those type of players, as we already mentioned, both tackles coming out, that's going to be, health is huge. And staying healthy is definitely going to be big. And I think that's a good transition. I already alluded to Carl Lawson. This defensive line is about to have a hell of a season, where if you look at the players they've added and the players they're getting back, you're adding Carl Lawson back. Bryce Huff was whipping people's butts early in the year last year before he's got hurt with a back injury and had to miss some time. He's back and healthy. He had a great day of practice today. He had 2 sacks in a red zone period. Going against Mekhi Becton. He's going to be a huge help. You're getting Vinny Curry back as well, who I think a lot of people forgot about. That's another veteran in the room that knows how to rush, that's been around the game for a long time, that can tutor these young players. And then you add these 2 draft picks and Jermaine Johnson that we've spent months and months hyping up and talking about, and Michael Clemens as well in the 4th round, their last pick of the 2022 draft. He's going to contribute too. And I think that could find a role very quickly. This defensive line is loaded. And I think we're going to see a really big difference in the defense overall than what we saw last year, because this scheme as a whole was built to get after quarterbacks. And if it doesn't get after quarterbacks, it kind of falls apart. And that's kind of what we saw last year, is that as their bodies at pass rushers started to dwindle, when they lost that extra sense of pressure, the defense really started to crumble. I think we're going to see a completely different situation this year.
You know what? When I look at how this defense is built, I know that it's built to get after the quarterback. But in these first 4 games, and I'm going to even go as far as saying possibly the first 5-6 games, this defense is going to have to show that they have the ability to stop a downhill run game attack.
Absolutely.
I think against pocket passers, I think that the defensive line will be able to get pressure. My concern for this defense is their ability to stop teams that are going to run right at them. And we spent the whole offseason, pretty much talking about Jermaine Johnson and talking about playing in this division, playing against Tua, playing against Allen. All right. First game of the season is against Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
We're going to get an opportunity to see everything that we need to see, or at least get an opportunity to see where these guys are with regards to containing a quarterback. So everything that we want to see, I think we're going to get a great idea of where this defense is because, hey, listen, Baltimore is going to be Baltimore.
Yep.
All right. They're going to run Lamar. They're going to run downhill at you. They're going to run some form of a counter, but whatever it is, it's going to be smash mouth and it's going to be downhill at you. And that was one of the big things that we talked about on this show was those interior linebackers, their inability to get downhill and stop that run. I think with the competition that we have, with the depth that we have on the defensive line, hopefully during training camp, the starting offensive line is getting a chance to go against the starting defensive line because I think that right there with the talent that we have on the defensive line, those guys being able to go at the offensive line over and over and over again is going to ultimately help the offensive line out. It's going to help the defensive line out. But I want to see this defensive line stop the run. I think that that's where it starts, is they have to be able to stop the run. I don't think that we're going to have issues getting after the quarterbacks. I think that we have enough talent in the secondary that our guys can cover. Yes, we're going to play against some top-notch, some speed, but I think that we have enough in the backfield of our defense that these guys can cover. It's going to come down to this front seven's ability to stop teams from running the ball. If you stop teams from running the ball, the play action fake doesn't carry as much weight. And now it allows your defensive lineman to peel their ears back and just go straight at the quarterback. Knowing, and this is just my feeling, I know this kind of gets into what we're going to talk about, some of our wild predictions for the year. I think that our offense is going to put up points this year. And if our defense can stop teams from running the ball, it's going to put teams in the position that they're going to have to keep up with the Jets offense. And that's something that's huge for me, is stopping the run game, forcing teams to throw the ball. And it's going to put us in a position that we're going to get more turnovers. We're going to score more points offensively. And it forces teams to get away from their downhill running attack.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. Not to be too off topic, but speaking of Baltimore, I think you should be going into training camp practice every day going, we got the Ravens week 1. We got to be ready. We got to be able to handle the run game. We got to be able to contain Lamar Jackson. And the same thing for the offense. That Ravens defense is no joke. That's one of the best secondaries in the NFL, flat out, period. And it got better this year. It was already good, and it got even better. They have a ton of pass rushers as well. They stop the run. The Ravens are the Ravens. Like you said, they are one of the biggest identity teams. Another thing we talk about a lot on this show is having an identity. No one has an identity better than the Ravens, where they are who they are. They know who they are, and they attack it every year, and it's your job to stop them. This is going to be a big test, and especially against that Baltimore offense that is so downhill, that is so smash mouth, that will run Lamar as a counter, that will have the different counters and pin and pulls and sweeps. And it's going to be a tough task. And as schematically, it's a good matchup for the Ravens against this style of defense. So it's even more of a reason for that defensive line to hone things in and get on their P's and Q's. And Jermaine Johnson says this himself. I remember hearing this in an interview, and by no means is this his quote, but this is something that all pass rushers, if they're any good or worth their salt, are going to know. You got to earn the right to rush the passer. And you do that by stopping the run. Where you get into those situations where you can pin your ears back and it's 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8, you get to 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 8 by stopping the run on 1st and 2nd down and getting in there and not giving up plays. And that's why I think Jermaine Johnson specifically is such a good run defender, because he knows that, he lives it, and he believes it and understands it. And he works to get those opportunities to come over top and rush the quarterback, pin his ears back, and do what he does best. But it's going to be a tough task. And this is, quite honestly, I'm glad that they got this early, because it's going to add that much more hype to training camp. It's going to mean they're going to be that much more motivated to know we got no slouch to start off the year. We're going to be in front of our home fans. We got all this hype, and we got a team that could very well be in the playoffs, if not fighting for a Super Bowl right at the start of the year coming up at us. I think it's going to do great for them in the long run, but it's going to be a tough task early.
It is. And, we spent a lot of time talking about the defensive ends and the linebackers, and we know the secondary that we have. This has to be a big year for Williams and Rankins. it has to be a big year for them.
Yep.
I mean,
It's
yes,
crucial.
I get on the interior linebackers about, last year, but you're going to listen, we're going to be able to line up 4 defensive linemen that any one of these guys can beat, in my opinion, most, if not all of whoever is lined up in front of them. All right. I don't think that there is anybody that they'll face that will say, okay, our guy is going to get dominated by this guy. With that said, those 2 big guys in the middle, as the edge rushers are getting pressure, they have to minimize the quarterback's ability to step up in the pocket. And when you're talking about containing Lamar, when you're talking about containing Tua, when you're talking about containing these running quarterbacks, those 2 interior defensive linemen become critical. You can't stand there and slow dance with the guy. You have to get pushed. You have to create pressure. And I think that the Jets will get it done this year. I really think that defensively, they're going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they have too much talent not to. And especially with another year in the same system and another year, continuity on that back end and a zone-based defense, knowing your landmarks, knowing your pass offs, the communication between those guys to know what the other person's role is, it's all going to be a help. And I really do think that the defense is going to see an improvement, especially if the offense improves. Because if the offense can score and keep teams having to throw, that's also going to help their weaknesses of that interior run game, as if teams can't afford to just run the ball down everyone's throat. So I think we're going to see a much different Jets defense. Let's go ahead and get into it. You alluded it earlier. We are going to drop some of our bold predictions for this season as training camp starts. Look ahead to the year as a whole and try and see if we can come back to this at the end of the year in January and see if we got anything right. So LaMont, I know you're very excited to go ahead and let off some of your predictions. So I'm going to toss things to you to start off. Go ahead. The floor is yours. What you got for this year?
First thing, I'm going to look at Zach Wilson. I played around with this number. All right. I played around with this number. I'm going to say to Zach Wilson would throw for a minimum of 3,700 this year. I think he throws for a minimum of 3,700. And on top of that, and I played around with this number too, I'm going anywhere between 7 to 10. And so I'll play it safe here. And I'll go 7. His touchdown to interception ratio, I'm going to say he's going to throw, I'm just going to put what I have down here. He's going to throw 10 more touchdowns than interceptions. So however it works out, he'll have 10 more touchdowns than he has interceptions.
Yeah, I think that's good. I don't think 3,700 is too much to expect at all. That's 217 yards a game. That's not, if he plays 17 games, that's perfectly within reason. And I expect him to get close to that number. And I do think his touchdown to interceptions will be a good bit there, a good bit of a gap, if not 10. And this is one thing I want to point out for all the people to realize. When you look at some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and most importantly, some of the most dangerous, where I try and grade players on, if I was going against them schematically, who would I be most scared to defend? Who would be the toughest matchup to defend? It doesn't always have to be statistics, doesn't always have to be output. It's about fear, and it's about impact on the game. You look at guys like Josh Allen, you look at guys like Pat Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, and some of the best young quarterbacks. A lot of those, even Matt Stafford, we can throw him in. A lot of those guys were towards the top of the league in interceptions. Matt Stafford led the league in picks this year. Justin Herbert, I think, had 13. Burrow had like 14 or 15. But their touchdown output vastly outweighed those interceptions. And it's because they're aggressive quarterbacks. And they aren't scared to throw the ball downfield and take chances and make the big plays that make them great, even if it ends in some bad plays that may hurt the team in the immediate. Their overall impact to the game and what they do, it's aggressive. And especially for Zach Wilson, I think he's playing in an offense that's going to lead to him being aggressive. I think they're going to run the ball a ton. I think they're going to have play action passes that are down the field off of that. They got a lot of speed at receiver. They have a quarterback with a big arm. And so Zach Wilson having at least 10 more touchdowns and interceptions, I agree. If Zach Wilson throws 12 picks but 30 touchdowns, I'm not going to care about the 12 picks as much, because he's being aggressive and he's taking advantage of what the offense has in its skill talent. I'm right there with you. And I want to branch off a little bit for that. Speaking of Zach Wilson and speaking of our offensive statistical output, my first bold prediction is that Braxton Berrios outproduces Corey Davis. I think he is going to be a bigger piece of this offense than people realize. I think his chemistry with Zach Wilson is already there. We saw at the end of last year that there's a lot of trust between those two guys. I think Braxton was ascending as a player the more the season went on. He caught about half of his total catches in the last 4 games alone when he was one of the few guys left. I know you're giggling because I know you love Braxton. We're all on we're on the same page here. I think he's going to have a big year. I don't think he's the 4th receiver. I think he's going to be the 3rd. And I think he's, especially being the guy that gets some of the gadget plays drawn up for him. He's got the special teams value as well. I'm expecting big things from Braxton Berrios. I'm not going to put a statistical, number or output or yards or touchdowns or anything like that. But at the end of the year, I think he's going to have more yards and more touchdowns than Corey Davis. I just think he's going to be a bigger part of the offense.
I agree with you 100% on that. You said it. I'm a Berrios fan. I think sticking to that point, I think that at some point throughout the season, our wide receiver core, when we line up and we go out there with 3 wideouts, I think it's going to be more Berrios and Garrett.
Yep.
I think that those 3 on the field poses the biggest threat for every team that we play. With Corey Davis, you're going to get a tall guy that's fast, that's just pretty much going to run go routes, deep routes, things of that nature. Everybody else, they're going to hit you with speed. They're going to hit you with routes. And when they get the ball in their hands after the catch, they can make plays. And when you look at just the style of how our offenses are called, hey, I don't like the college gimmicky type stuff. But the fact of the matter is now when you look at those 3 and then you put Hall and you put Carter in the backfield at the same time, that is entirely too much speed, along with a quarterback that is mobile. Let's 100%. Remember, along with a quarterback that is mobile, they have the ability to space things out. And with your point of Berrios, that leads me to my next point is that I think that we will have a 1,000-yard receiver this year. I think we have a 1,000-yard receiver this year. I don't know who it's going to be.
It's Elijah Moore.
Okay.
It'll be Elijah Moore, but yeah.
It's going to be a situation where it's either going to be a 1,000-yard receiver or you're going to have 3 receivers where you got an 800, an 800, and a 700 or somewhere along those lines. So I'm going to say that this year we're going to either have a 1,000-yard receiver or we're going to have 3 receivers with 700 plus receiving yards.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a mix of both. I think you're going to have Elijah Moore get just over 1,000, where like 1,100 might be like the ceiling for his yardage output. And you're going to have Braxton and Garrett between like 700 and 800 themselves. And Corey Davis might throw, 400 in there as well. And whoever else gets involved in the receiving room. I'm right there with you. They're going to spread the ball around. And on top of that, they're going to run the ball a ton, like I mentioned, to where there's only one ball. This is a problem. I was speaking with some of my Jets X Factor coworkers in our group chat a couple of days ago, where we're talking about who's going to be the biggest producer and is there going to be, enough room? Are we going to have that 1,000-yard receiver? They have a good problem. They have too many mouths to feed. When you factor in the running backs, like you said, and Hall and Carter, you factor in the new tight ends they added. I already mentioned CJ Uzama. Tyler Conklin, I think, is going to have a huge year as well. I don't think it's just CJ Uzama as in his lonesome. And all these receivers, they got a ton of skill talent. And it's not like the Jets of old to have this much skill talent all at once. But there's only one ball. And the ball is going to have to go to one guy at a time. And that's going to lead me to my next prediction, staying on the offense. I think Breece Hall is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Because I think he is going to be the lead dog. I think he's going to get about 60% of the carries. I think this offensive line is built to punish people. And we have the skill talent to scare defenses vertically. You can't load the box against the Jets. Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson will make you pay for it. Braxton Berrios will make you pay for it. Even Corey Davis can win down the field. You have these tight ends and the talent that they bring. This is a multi-dimensional offense where you can't just say, we're going to come up and load the box and stop the run and dare them to throw. Okay, they'll make you pay for it. So I think you're going to see Breece Hall get a lot of lighter boxes. I think he's in a system that fits him perfectly, that fits his skill set perfectly. You have an offensive coach in Mike LaFleur that's coming from Kyle Shanahan and what he's done in the run game with some of the best run game coordinators in the NFL. I think Breece Hall is going to have 1,100 plus yards and win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I really think he is going to have a fantastic season, especially now that, like we let off at the start, the offensive line is set. The continuity is going to be there. He can spend all of this training camp practicing running behind those same offensive linemen, knowing where to cut, knowing where to get in the holes. And the piece de resistance is all of those skill talent on the outside. It's going to keep defenses from loading the box. I'm expecting big, big things from Breece Hall.
I agree. Listen, I had him as my number one back.
Yeah, no, I know you like him even more than I did.
Happy. That leads to my next point. And just like with the wide receivers, I'm gonna go to the running back position. I think that there's going to be 1,000-yard rusher. In the event that there's not 1,000-yard rusher, one of these running backs will have between 12 and 1,300 total yards. So whether one of these backs is going to have 12 to 1,300 total yards, I think that one of them, and of course, I think it's going to be Hall. He can get the 1,000-yard mark, but like you spoke about it, the one thing that I'm hoping is happening in training camp, and you brought up Shanahan. The thing that I loved about Shanahan's offense is that the quarterback was under center. And people don't understand that there is a significant difference as a running back when you're running from shotgun.
Speak on it. Let the people know, because they don't realize this.
Yeah, when you're lining up at the home position, and the home position is when the quarterback is under center, and you see that running back is lined up anywhere between 6 to 7.5, sometimes 8 yards deep. All right. When you're running from shotgun and offset, it's a softer version of football. You're coming across, you're waiting, you're looking to read things out. And it's just, to me, it also allows that backside linebacker to kind of hang on your hip and kind of clog the hole up, opposed to when you're lined up at the home position. From shotgun, there's more opportunity to think. And that's where you see guys get the ball, they come across and they bounce and they kind of and then they try to hit that. When you line up at home, it is get the ball, read it out, make a decision, and you get downhill. That is something that I think that Breece Hall needs to get right now. I'm here in DC. The Commanders, they drafted Antonio Gibson out of Memphis. All right. He's transitioning from wide receiver to running back. He's in a shotgun scheme offense. He never really had the opportunity to line up in that bite down on your mouthpiece. You're going to get hit. You don't have time to sit and wait and bounce. Everything is not spread out. I'm hoping that the Jets are adding that to their offense, because that's something that's something that's huge. And I'm sure that there are running backs out there that can kind of counter what I'm saying, but I can only speak for myself. And I think that Hall is a big back. And so as a big back, I'm going to speak on what it's like playing as a big back. You want him to develop the mindset of biting down on his mouthpiece, seeing the hole, knowing that he's going to get hit, and still muster up the courage to just hit that hole hard and finish forward. Because now once you put him in the shotgun, he's already set the mindset in the defense. If I'm running from shotgun, I'm not hitting the hole as hard. It's just I'm coming this way and then I have to do this. If I'm lined up 7.5 yards deep and I can come downhill with speed at you now when we hit those 2 to 3 yard runs, now I'm giving you some impact. If it's a safety that's coming up to making that hit, now that safety is going to start thinking, I got to get downhill a lot faster. Now that's what opens up play action fake. So the whole point of me saying that is that I hope that they are allowing Hall and all of these running backs to take some snaps where the quarterback is under center. The running back is at the home position, and he gets a chance to just come downhill and just go hit it up in there, because they're going to need that on the offense. It can't just be pretty. You have to have some type of an enforcer on offense. And we've talked about this a lot on our show throughout the course of the season. The way you develop that is in training camp, lining the quarterback up under center, turning around, handing the ball off to the running back and say, go.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I couldn't agree more. And I think we're going to see plenty of that this year. And a big reason why is the additions at tight end. I think it was harder for them to get in those heavier sets, to get in those under center positions and really try and have that downhill running game where even though it's outside zone and even though you're not necessarily running, 21 ISO right up the middle or anything like that, you still have that downhill aspect of we're going to get in a 12 personnel set with 2 tight ends. We're going to have the extra beef. We're going to be under center. We're going to come at your throat and we're going to get these combination blocks on the front side and make you come downhill and meet us in the hole and stop the run. And it does help the running backs being in that position where when you're coming from shotgun as well, and you're on one or the right or left of the quarterback, it gives the defense a bit of a tell because most runs from shotgun, if the running back is on the quarterback's right, are going to go towards the left, vice versa the other way. Yes, you have some counters and some things mixed in where it isn't always that way, but usually the defense is going to have a little bit of a tell. And unless it's kind of like a shotgun pitch that you don't see too often of, if it is going to be a counter and the run is going towards the side the running back is on, that play is going to take longer to develop. And it's going to take longer for the running back to have the lane. He's going to have to basically just stand there and wait for the blocks to start opening up. Where when you're under center and you're in that home position like you're talking about, and you have the multiple tight ends, the run can go either way. The angles of how you're hitting it, especially for a zone running game, the way you're getting to your landmark, the way you're starting and how you're taking that angle, it's just a better position and it gives you more advantageous lanes from that under center position. So I really think that's going to be a big help. I think the new talent at tight end is going to be a help as well. They're going to have guys that can block while also being receiving threats, just gives the defense more things to worry about. And as a defensive coordinator, any defensive coordinator in the league is going to tell you, options are scary. The ability to score and take advantage of every blade of grass on the field horizontally and vertically is very hard to defend. So I'm right there with you. I think we're going to have a real potent offense. I think they have the skill talent to where there's basically no question in my mind that as long as Zach Wilson can be serviceable, and I really think he will be, the Jets offense is going to take off. They have too much talent not to. We alluded to it before, speaking of the defense, when I was talking about our defensive line and their ability to stop the run, get to the quarterback, all of that. I think their offense is going to be potent. I think opposing teams are going to have to throw to keep up with the Jets offense, where you're going to have a couple of games where they get ran all over, but I don't think it's going to be that often. And I think, like I said, this defensive line is about to eat no one more so than Carl Lawson. So for my last bold prediction, I'm putting Carl Lawson at 12 or more sacks this year.
Wow.
I think he's going to explode. The dude is in freakish shape. He looks like an action figure. Like he looks like an anime character with how ripped up he is. He's coming back fully healthy. He's a player that's had some injuries before. And I listened to an interview he had yesterday where he spoke on it, where it's all mental for him. And all mental for most players coming back from an injury, where he said your body heals before your mind does. And that you can get right physically, but you're always going to have that hesitation in the back of your head of, oh, I did this and I got hurt. And so I might tense up, or I might slow down, or I might not be going full force like I would if I never had this injury. Carl Lawson's been through that already. He had some injuries before as a player coming out of college, as well as his earlier careers in the NFL, where he knows that now. And he knows my body is good, and he doesn't have that ramp up period. And even said being hurt before has helped me in this process because I'm aware of that and I can focus and dial in. The dude is a maniac, and I think he's even more motivated now to prove as how good he is than he was last year. I think he's going to explode. I'm thinking at least 12 sacks.
Man, I tell you what, playing against the schedule and, assuming that things go well, like you said, offense is going to put up a lot of points. Teams are going to have to keep up. That I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. I had a prediction where defensively we would have over 15 picks this year. And so I think that with the sacks, with the picks, those go hand in hand. This is going to be my last bold prediction. And it's a combination. but it's talking about the record. Excuse me. I think the Jets start the season off 3-2. I think that we will go 2-2 against the AFC North. I think we will beat the Browns. I think we'll beat the Browns. I just don't know. I think that the first game of the season playing against Baltimore with their defense, with Lamar, with that run game, I think that that's kind of a tall task. But it's
a bad matchup.
Schematically,
it's a bad matchup.
Schematically, it's a bad matchup, but I love the matchup because you're going to get a whole lot of teach tape on that.
100%.
And the things that you're going to go through and experience in week one that you basically have 16, you have basically 16 more weeks to correct. So I think that that'll be a good game. I just don't know who the other team is going to be. Right now, I'm saying I think that they'll
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh was my second choice. I was going to say Cleveland and Pittsburgh. My other bold prediction is they will sweep the Dolphins this year. They will sweep the Dolphins this year. I think that this is going to be a bad year for the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins will finish last in the division. I just think that everything is going to blow up on the Dolphins. And finally, I have the Jets with minimum 7-8 wins. I got them with a minimum of 7 to 8 wins. I have them beating the Dolphins twice. I got them beating the Browns, the Bears, the Lions, the Jaguars. And I'm kind of stuck between, I'll throw Pittsburgh in there. I have Seattle on here because we just don't know what Seattle is going to be, but they are going up to Seattle in December. I think they have a better chance of going into Green Bay early in the season with us not knowing what Green Bay is going to be. I think losing Devontae Adams is going to be huge, and I don't think that people really understand it. Yes, I love Aaron Rodgers. There is the Aaron Rodgers factor, but he doesn't have a Devontae Adams on that team. And I think that they're going to rely heavily on their run game, which I think is going to work to the Jets' favor. So I'm looking at, I'm looking at, I think they'll get swept by the Bills. I think they'll get swept by the Patriots. But I think that every other game that they play, there's an opportunity there for them to win. So I have a minimum of 7 wins this year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. If I had to go on my official prediction, I'm going to say 8-9. I think they're going to win 8 games. I think they're going to go 3-2, exactly like you said to start. I think they beat the Browns, and I think they beat the Steelers. I think pretty much I'm in lockstep with you, except I think they steal one against the Patriots. I think that at home, I'm really questioning the Patriots' offensive system right now, where one of Matt Patricia or Joe Judge is their offensive coordinator. Even though they're not going to be named, someone's going to be calling those plays, and it's going to be one of those two guys. And I don't know about the skill talent that they have. I know Mac Jones is going to be quality. I know he's going to get the ball out on time. He's probably not going to make many mistakes. But if no one's open, what's he going to do? And he is not the type of quarterback that can make plays off schedule, that can get out of the pocket and scare you when the play breaks down. So I really think that they're going to steal one from New England, and I think they're going to end 8-9. They're not going to make the playoffs, not going to get in at 8-9, not in this talented AFC with all the quality teams that they got. But I think if the Jets went 8-9 this year and beat some quality teams, like they beat the Browns, they split one with the Patriots, they, maybe go into Seattle and beat Seattle. They have some winnable games on this schedule. I think you're going to be looking 2023. People are going to be picking the Jets to win 12 games. And there's going to be a huge improvement. So that's going to be it for us, ending off training camp here with our bold predictions. It is finally here. We are all excited. Quick announcement for the people. Make sure you guys are staying tuned. If you're in the local New York area, the show is going to be starting on Sirius XM's football sports pages very, very soon. So you can find us there as well. We are very excited for that. LaMont, anything you got going on? I'm going to give you the floor to toss to, and we're going to wrap this up for the day and let the people go on their business.
I'm just enjoying the end of our Diva season and just looking forward to this upcoming football season, man. That's it. Looking forward to continuing to work with you this season, and we have some exciting things coming up this season. Looking forward, really excited about the serious thing that we have going on. So
absolutely,
just listen up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining on. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. You can find me at @AndrewGolden_17. You can find Big Dog at Coach Jordan 34. Thank you guys again, and we'll be back real soon to keep breaking down training camp and getting ready for this next year.
Peace.
See you. What's up, NFL fans? Andrew Golden and LaMont Jordan here of the Bleav In the Jets podcast. We're here to give our official Super Bowl predictions as training camp is starting for the 2022 season. I'll go ahead and start things off. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to take down the Los Angeles Rams, in the Super Bowl. The Rams are going to get back, attempt for a repeat, but I don't think they're going to be able to keep up. And I think this is going to be a massive year from Patrick Mahomes. MVP, Super Bowl MVP, the whole nine. Chiefs over Rams for the Super Bowl.
Man. Well, we agree on one thing. I like the Rams. I think the Rams are going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm kind of stuck on the AFC as far as who they're going to play. There are a number of teams. I don't like the Bills, although I think they're a lot of people's favorites. I just don't think that they're going to utilize their run game enough. Oh my goodness. I kind of want to go with the Colts. I really think Matt Ryan. Out of the AFC, somebody from the AFC West is coming out of the West. I don't think that it's going to be the Chiefs. Listen, I'm gonna do it, Drew. I'm going to do it.
Go for it.
The Raiders, baby. I got the Raiders and the Rams playing in the Super Bowl. And I'm taking the Rams. I'm taking the Rams over the Raiders. I really don't. It's playing. I thought the Rams were going to repeat anyway. So to me, it doesn't matter who comes out of the AFC. I think the Rams are going to win a Super Bowl again.
All right. Well, there you have it from us. I got the Chiefs taking down the Rams. LaMont over there has the Rams repeating, taking down the Raiders. Both of us seem to think LA is going to be in for another big year, and we'll see what the AFC has to counter them. Make sure you guys stay tuned to the Bleav Podcast Network for all the best NFL updates.